I guess we'll chalk that one down to robot error.
Immersed robot.
Testing out this game with an RTX 3080, I started out with graphical settings which I personally found worked best for me during my last quick play session. You can see that I have a lot of options set below. However, the exceptions to this are anisotropic filtering, which is set to 16, track detail and shadows, which are both set to ultra, and detailed grass set to high. For this first race I kept opponents at the default of 15 and chose the relatively demanding track of Long Beach Street Circuit. Using 90Hz refresh rate at 150% super sampling in Steam VR, the game was immediately running great, although you will notice some minor GPU and CPU frame spikes as I progress, causing the frame rate to drop into the 80s. Then it dips into reprojection very briefly as it falls to 45 frames per second. This may be caused by the trackside detail loading in, but I'm not certain. I decided to roll graphical settings back to help the game along slightly, so lowered track detail, shadows, and grass to medium. I also lowered anisotropic filtering down to 8. Restarting the game to activate these new settings, I found I was able to maintain 90 frames per second for most of the time. There were still very occasional dips to 88 and even fewer to 85, which had little overall impact to the experience. I tried 120 Hz in the valve index and predictably found the game to run in constant reprojection, settling on a slightly inconsistent 60 frames per second. If you're comfortable running racers in reprojection, then this is certainly an option. I have to confess that, although I don't play racers a huge amount, part of the reason for this testing is to get a smooth frame rate at the native refresh rate of my headset, so I was trying to avoid reprojection. Maintaining this setting for now, I decided to lower the opponents down to 5 to see the effect. Still running in reprojection, this time the game was running with a more comfortably solid 60 FPS, although it did keep trying to creep up to reach that native 120 in places. I tried a less demanding track, and this was a similar story, although it did come close to that magical 120 FPS at certain points. I lowered everything down to the lowest settings to get a baseline, and I was suddenly playing in a mostly solid 120 frames per second. This really felt great, and although I missed some of the graphical fidelity, it wasn't bad at all. This might be an option for some people, but the shadows definitely add a lot to the look of the game in my opinion. Bringing them back up to medium was still playable, but frame rate was certainly more inconsistent in specific areas of the track. I tried them on low and was still experiencing inconsistency, unfortunately. Trying Long Beach once again, I noticed the frame rate was very similar and, if I'm being honest, less than ideal. I reduced the index refresh rate back to 90, then moved anisotropic filtering up to 16 with track detail, shadows, and grass set on high. After restarting the game once again, although imperfect, I felt like this was a reasonable balance. Part of me did feel I should lower shadows and track detail down to medium or even low to really lock in that 90 FPS, but I have to admit this looked and felt pretty good overall. While I won't claim to be a hardcore racer, I certainly enjoy racing games. However, I realize that some people out there might prioritize super sampling a little more than I did in this brief test, and that will probably be worth looking at in a separate video. Although not the latest Project Cars game, I know that Project Cars 2 shares the same engine as 3, so hopefully this quick test will be of some small help to players of that game too. Well, that's pretty much it for this video. Please hesitantly tap the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more concise and informative VR content. You can also join our Discord by clicking on the link in the description of this video. And, as always, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.